Hi, I'm Rajesh. I'm a practicing company secretary. In this series of videos on drafting, pleading, and appearances, let us see how to draft a document. If you have not yet subscribed to our channel, kindly subscribe to our channel. And if you like the video, kindly press the like button and also share it with your friends. Now, the first thing before we actually start drafting a document is we'll have to understand that why we are drafting a particular document. When we say document, it could be a legal document, or else it could be a mere letter where we are writing it to a teacher, or else it could be a letter which we are writing it to the registrar of companies, or it could be a letter, or else a covering letter which we are attaching it to the trademark registry. So there is a purpose for writing something, right? There is a purpose for drafting a particular document. So whenever we say document, it is not necessary that you will have to start thinking that it is a sale deed, a lease deed, or else a plain written statement, or else a memo or some interlocutor application or something like that. It could be a mere letter. So it could be that I am writing a letter to my sister, or else I am writing a letter to my brother, or let us assume that I am writing a leave letter. I am saying that I want a day's leave since I am not keeping well or something like that. So there is a purpose for writing a particular document. So first you will have to understand that what is the purpose for writing a particular document. That writing we call it as drafting. Next thing is you will have to understand to whom you are writing. Now let us assume that I am sending a mail to my trainee. Naturally, I will not be addressing him with as if that person, that trainee is with authority. Now if I am writing a mail to the registrar of companies, I would be writing dear sir, dear ma'am or something like that. So because they are in a position of power, they are in some sort of authority. Now if I am writing some sort of a plaint or else some document to the tribunal, my language would entirely be different. If I am writing it to the court, if I am presenting a petition before a court, naturally it will be like your honor, or I hereby humbly pray that this honorable court may be pleased. Whereas I will not be writing the same thing to my student. I will not be writing that I will not be sending a mail to my training saying that I will be really pleased if you fill up this particular form, or if you revert back, something like that. It will not be like that. So first you will have to understand the purpose, and then you will have to know to whom you are addressing. So once you are able to understand these two things, then naturally the drafting becomes much more easier. And when we say drafting, you don't have to freeze thinking that it is some legal document. So it's simply you will have to think that why you are writing that, to whom you are writing that, what is the purpose, and what is the objective that you are trying to accomplish. In legal language, we say that what is your prayer, that what is the relief that you want. So once you are able to understand this, then drafting becomes much more easier. Of course, there are certain formats in which you are supposed to address, the format in which you are supposed to present a particular a document. So once you see all those documents, then it becomes easier. Unless and until you don't see a particular document, naturally it becomes difficult. Now, like for example, when you are a student, writing a leave letter becomes much more easier. Like it might not be easier to write a love letter, because it is not that everybody would have fallen in love and they would have written a love letter or something like that. Now let us assume you are sending a text message to your friend, you are sending a WhatsApp message to your friend. Naturally your language is different. Like instead of writing you, you would merely write you, the letter you, or you will be writing you are. So that kind of letters or else that kind of words cannot be used in a legal document. So these are some of the intricacies which a person is expected to know, and once you know that, then drafting becomes much more easier. But before we actually start drafting a particular document or else a letter for that matter, first my advice would be to sit and think that why you are writing. This I call it as a brainstorming. Think why you are writing a letter to the registrar of companies. Like you are not satisfied with the services which are given by a particular vendor. Like you have purchased a TV and then you are not satisfied with the quality of that particular TV. Then you want to write a complaint letter saying that you are not happy, and then you had approached the service provider and then they have not come to your home to check whether what is a mistake, etc. Then you know why you are writing the letter, and you know to whom you are addressing. And then the third thing that you are expected to know is, if you don't get the kind of relief that you are expecting, then what next? Like you write a letter to your TV, I mean to a service provider from whom you have purchased a TV. Now he is going to say that no, there is some mistake with, or when we sold the TV it was absolutely all right, then there is a surge of power, that is the reason, we have got nothing to do, there is no defect, there is no manufacturing defect. Now next what is, naturally you will have to go to the consumer forum. So naturally you say that if you do not attend to my problem, I will be forced to approach the next forum. It could be a consumer forum, it could be the High Court, Supreme Court, whatever it is. So now you are doing a brainstorming. You are merely thinking that what you are supposed to write. Now merely by thinking, that is not sufficient. Now next, what is the thing that you are supposed to do? You take a piece of paper and then you actually start writing, because only when you start writing, you know where all you can go wrong. Then you start writing and then you keep writing, you finish the letter, or else you finish the document, whatever it is. Then you don't simply finish it and then sign it and then give it to that particular person. You go through it again, because there are chances that there could be some mistakes, there are some spelling mistakes, or the language that has been used is not proper. Like addressing the registrar of companies or addressing the court, the language that is expected is entirely different. If you are addressing your friend, the language that is expected is entirely different. So you go through the entire document and then see if any corrections are required. So the first document that you had written is actually called as a draft document, and then once you start correcting your mistakes and then you look at what can be improved, then that finally when you come to the final document, that we call it as a final document, which needs to be presented or which needs to be sent. My senior used to tell me that how many times we are supposed to correct, because when we write a plain, my senior, he will tell me to correct certain mistakes. Then he will say, no, you can do better. He will say, you can improve your language. So you keep on writing, then you get fed up. So I asked my senior, how many times you are supposed to draft a plaint? He told me one very good thing. That is, he said, till the time actually comes for you to file a suit, you will have to keep doing this. Because there are chances that you can improve your mistakes. There are chances that you can fine tune your document. So it is not that first you prepare a draft document and then look at the document, find out certain mistakes, then the second document happens to be a final document. No, it doesn't work like that. It could be the first one is a draft document, the second one also happens to be a draft document, third also happens to be a draft document. Till you are actually satisfied with the document, you can keep on rectifying the mistakes, and all those documents or all those letters, we call it as a draft document. Once you are final and once you are satisfied with a particular outcome, then that becomes the final document. Now before we actually draft, there are certain points which we are supposed to keep in mind. Now what are those things? I have jotted down certain points. Now what are those things? First is presentation. How do you present it? Like when you present, now let us assume that you are writing a drafting, pleading and appearance subject. Let us assume that there is a 5-mark question. For 5 mark, we will presume that you are writing for 1 page. It is not that you are going to start from the first line and then end till the last line. Like 22 lines, it is not going to be a single paragraph. So naturally that will have to be divided into different paragraphs. So each paragraph may contain around 2 or 3 sentences, and then the next paragraph may be speaking about something else but which is connected with the question. So naturally you break those things into paragraphs. Now the same thing is given under plaint also. Plaint, the rules of pleading says very clearly that each concept will have to be put in a paragraph, so that becomes much more clear and that becomes much more presentable. So first thing that you will have to keep in mind is presentation. The second one is numbering of paragraph. So whenever you are putting it in paragraph, it is always preferred that you put certain numbers like paragraph number 1, paragraph number 2, and then you will have to maintain that. Like you cannot say that the first paragraph will have a bulletin point and the second paragraph would have number like 1, and then the third paragraph would have a Roman number, and then the fourth paragraph would have something else, fifth would have A, sixth would have again a bulletin. No, that is not the correct way of drafting. If you are having all bulletin points, then all the paragraphs should have bulletin points. If it is number 1, then it should be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or if it is A, then it should be A, B, C, D. So paragraph and numbering of paragraph is very important. The third one is using of abbreviations. Like for example, let us assume you are using a particular abbreviation. Now what is ICSI? ICSI stands for Institute of Company Secretaries of India. In short form, we call it as ICSI. So if at all you are in a particular document, if at all you are using an abbreviation, first thing that you will have to keep in mind is, first time when you are using that abbreviation, you should use the full form. Like you should first write Institute of Company Secretaries of India within the bracket ICSI. After that, whenever you want to write Institute of Company Secretaries of India, you can write ICSI. So it is presumed that ICSI means Institute of Company Secretaries of India. Just because you know that ICSI means Institute of Company Secretaries of India, directly you cannot write ICSI. Like for example, AGM. What is AGM? Annual General Meeting. Now I know what is AGM. Now you might be knowing what is AGM, but the person who is not at all aware of these things, he might not be knowing what is a AGM. So first thing what you do is, first you write annual general meeting, within the bracket you write AGM. So the next time when you are using the word annual general meeting, it is not necessary that you will have to write a annual general meeting, you can merely use the abbreviation. So this will have to be kept in mind. And then the date format, like normally in India we use the DDMMYY format. Now what is this DDMMYY? DD happens to be the date, and then we prescribe the month, and then we write the year format. So if at all you are using this particular format in a particular document, then the same thing will have to be used throughout the document. At one place you cannot write MMDDYY. MMDDYY is used in the United States, like they say 9/11. 9/11 happens to be, if you study in the Indian format, it happens to be 9th day and 11th month. But actually it is not, 9/11 is not 9th day and 11th month. It is the 9th month and the date is 11th. So if you are using the Indian format of DDMMYY, then use the same format. If you are using MMDDYY, the US format, then you will have to use the same format. But you will have to be very clear as to which format you are using. At one place you cannot use the DDMMYY format, and then the other place you cannot use the MMDDYY format. So this consistency will have to be maintained in the document. These are some of the simple rules. Now, though these are some of the simple rules, we tend to overlook it, because we think that we know how it is. We might be knowing what it is, but the other person who is actually going through the document might not be knowing what we are trying to convey. And then the next one is, whenever you are using, like let us assume you are trying to reproduce a particular section or a particular portion of the law, instead of trying to write it in the own language, I mean, I am not talking about in examination, when you are writing it, like really you are writing a document, or else really you are writing a plain, it is better to write that section 7 states as, within the quote, open it and then close it. So reproduce what is given in the act itself, so that you don't have to write something else and then try to explain those things to the person who is actually going through that particular document. Whatever is there in the act, simply use that, then it is presumed that the person who goes through the document will understand what is given in the particular piece of enactment. Then when you draft a document, it is very important that it should be clear and unambiguous. It is not necessary that you will have to use a hi-fi language. Even if you are using a very simple language, it should be able to convey what you want to convey. Like for example, when you are drafting a will, now what is the purpose of drafting a will? The purpose of drafting a will is, after the death of a particular person, that is after the death of the testator, that the properties will have to go to somebody else. So now that is the basic purpose. So you don't have to write that in a very high funda language, or else you don't have to know the legal terminology. Simply you can write that after my death, the following mentioned property, or the properties which are mentioned hereunder will go to my son, or else it will go to my daughter. Because when you actually have to interpret a will, what we are doing is, we are trying to understand the mindset of the person who actually executed the will. We are trying to find out the mind of the testator. So if the language of the will is not clear, or it is not giving a clear cut vision of what the testator would have thought, then the very purpose of drafting a will is defeated. So the language will have to be very clear. Keep it very simple. You don't have to break your head. The purpose of the document will have to be understood, and once you understand the purpose of the document, put it in a very gentle manner and in a very presentable manner. Once you are able to do all these things, and you are able to keep all these things in mind, then you can say that you are reasonably good in drafting. Of course, there are various formats. For understanding the format, you will have to first look at the document, understand it, do it, and then write it, rewrite it, all these things, then you will be able to be a better draftsman. If you want to learn more about the subject drafting, pleading and appearances, kindly fill the Google form given in the description box below. If you have got any comments or questions, kindly leave it in the comment section below. For more courses from Ekcel Academy, kindly visit excelacademy.com.